Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one.
Good call, my friend.
As I walk through this life, I might fall, I might stumble. Whoa, try to make friends with my pain, cause my pain keeps me humble. Whoa, breathe, slow and release. Let the air expand your lungs. Let your body bring you peace to the sea. To the sea I will speak, down my troubles to the waves as they wash my soul clean. Won't you purge me, here as I stand. Down in the gallows my darkness will hang. Hurt me, and I will not flinch. Firm in my ground, I will not move an inch. As I walk through this life, I might fall, I might stumble. Whoa, I try to make friends with my pain, cause my pain, it keeps me humble. Whoa, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I feel so blue, like a guitar with a broken string that can't hold the tune.
Good morning, guys. Get some cameras on, listen to some music, and we'll get started soon.
I'm down, but like a roundabout, I'm about to turn it back around. Flip it like a kick, flick a switch, I'll flip my mood. Coming with the style that's rude. As I walk through this life, I might fall, I might stumble. Whoa, I try to make friends with my pain, cause my pain, it keeps me humble. Humble, try not to outgrow these boots. Sometimes I stumble, try to stay firm in my roots. This world's a jungle, but these streets hold the sweetest fruit. Lesson to be learned here every time I bruise, not a fool, but I will make mistakes. And I learn every mistake I make. Wait for the wisdom that this fool will create. No one in this world but me decides my fate.
Taking control of the reins of being the lord in the land of my brain. And I loosen the chains that are causing the pain. Put a stain on my name with the flames. Let me say, make it rain down the rain, down the rain, down the chains. And I rise to the top like a bubble champagne. It's so hard to explain, need to use my left brain. I am switching, the lane's gonna change.
On
this roller coaster, I'm a poster child bipolar. Loner with the smoking motor, soldier with the broken holster. Focus, don't go down in smoke, then choke on coke and overdose. Just stand your ground, stay humble, proud and lucky like a four-leaf clover.
It's so hard, come on, fall.
Try to make friends with my pain, pain. As I walk through this life, I might fall, I might stumble. Boy, I try to make friends with my pain, cause my pain keeps me humble. Boy.
Ooh, good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome. All right, guys. Man, some interesting stuff going on in the market, in our real estate industry, guys. Super thrilled that you guys are here this Friday morning. As always, before I kind of introduce our guest speaker for today and bring everybody else in, we got to start with the wins. What kind of good shit is happening out there right now besides that music, right? Like, wasn't that like, man, just got me going this morning. So besides the awesome music that your host decided to play this morning, what else is going good right now?
Hey, Larry. Good morning, sir. I wanted to be the first to share, I guess. I had an REO training event on Wednesday. 30 agents came. It was awesome. But I'm finding that more and more agents are starting to pay attention to the default space. And that's a good thing for those with REO experience. And it's also the notice of default and notice of trust deed market are starting to pay attention to us agents that are calling with assistance to help them. So those are the two wins I've had just this week.
Beautiful. And I think that you're absolutely right, man. And this is where, especially our group, I feel that we will be able to help so many more people as this market continues to shift and trend. Because, out of our 605 agents, there's probably a solid 150 to 200 of us have grown up in this default industry, right? And now, instead of us like fighting against each other, right, we're all on the same ship. We're rowing in the same direction. And I'm thrilled to be on this journey with all of you guys and be here. So thank you, Robert, for all that you do. And man, our follow-up system, right? You doing those classes, passing them off to me, us getting it, like, dude, it's starting to work. It's starting to build the funnel and stuff here. I like that a lot as well.
I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great win to start things off. Who has the second win for today, guys?
I got it, Larry. I got a new REO this week. I got 3 listings that are going under contract right now. I got a 4th one that's going under contract today, it looks like. And then yesterday I caught squatters moving into a house in the process, got them out, got all their crap out, resecured the asset, got it all cleaned up. It'll be held open tomorrow.
Beautiful. That is great, my friend. That is really great. And you also brought on your first person to help them do some more business up there in Washington as well. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a good agent, a lot of REO experience. He'll be a good asset to the team.
Beautiful. That is awesome. Congratulations on that, man. A lot of momentum and stuff going right now. But here's the thing, guys. We've seen this, in up cycles and down cycles, right? You catch some momentum and stuff like that. The market shifts. The market is constantly changing. So do not get comfortable, right? This is where you leverage. This is where you start looking ahead of the curve, and you really start positioning for what's coming next, because the market that we have today is not the same market that we're going to have 6 months, a year from now. So this is where we have to stay ahead of that curve if you want to stay in that pole position, if you want to stay relevant, right? And we all make excuses like, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I got this, I got that. Like, I get it. It's uncomfortable. It's going to take some work and effort, but it will pay off tenfold as long as you keep pushing that envelope. So Jared, beautiful, man. Love to hear that. And who has our third win for the week? Oh, wait.
I closed escrow on a land deal yesterday.
Nice job. Keep that pipeline full. I don't think Ryan D is on here, but I just saw that, for this last month, he was the second highest producer in the state of Colorado. And so he's one of our members of our alliance group here as well. So huge shout out to Ryan D up there in Colorado for continuing just to push it. Beautiful, guys. Well, one thing, I was listening in on Robert Weikelt's, and this kind of goes along with Jared's comment and win for this week. But one of the things that my biggest takeaways from Robert Weikelt's, when he was hosting this mastermind call last week, right? People are smart as hell on this squatter side of the world. If you have not been, like, if you're joining our group to get into this default space and stuff, this is where this can shave years off of your learning curve by learning from the other people in this room. And one of my biggest things, I've been doing REOs for 17 years, right? And I had this aha moment with Robert Weikelt as he was training this. But the biggest thing was, he said, take your listings. I don't care if it's REO. I don't care if it's a vacation rental. I don't care if it's just vacant. Put your listing, set up a Google alert for it. That was a game changer, because these people are going to take that property and they're going to be like, oh shit, it's vacant. They're going to break in. They're going to take off your signs that say no trespassing and all of this other stuff. But when they go to advertise it on Craigslist, on this, on that, you're going to start getting dings, and you can beat that, right? Because it would have been a hell of an issue had Jared went out there and they were living there for a week. Totally different scenario. Oh, here's my fake lease. Here's this. They are gaming the system, and they are so good at it. This is what you have to do to protect yourself and protect your client. And that can also be something that you tell your clients as kind of a best practice and stuff at the same time. So I just wanted to say, like, awesome class last week, Mr. Weichelt there. And guys, today I am super pumped. I thought I was going to be dressed up as a mascot today at my kid's school. Schedules got arranged, so I'm not sweating my ass off, here in Houston, Texas, in a big dog costume, which is awesome. But I want to pass it over to a great friend of mine, Joseph Limo. Man, we've been together probably 14, 15 years now, right? Like, yep. I think I went to Carrington in about 2010. And Joseph Limo was one of our top producers there in all of California. He was one of our biggest team leaders. He is one of the reasons that most of us are here today, because James Cottrell told Joseph Limo, told Jerry Stapp, that told myself, and we kind of all got back together. We put the band back together over here. And so many of us would not be here had it not been for Joseph Limo. And now he's continuing to push the envelope, right? He's revamping the Alliance website. He's updating, training videos. He just created the 0 to 6 figures in 2 weeks program. And our agents get 90% off of the face value, right? Like, that sells for $3,000 to other people. We get it for like $300 at the end of the day. So grateful for everything that this man has done and continues to do to keep elevating his game, which just brings a lot more value. And that's one of the beautiful pieces of this entire group, is this rising tide raises all ships. So without further ado, Joseph Limo, how are you doing, my brother?
Man, I'm awesome, Larry. Thank you for that. That was super kind of you, dude. You know how much I respect and honor you and most of you guys on here. So
most of them. Who do you not respect on here? No, I'm just joking. I'm not going to call you out.
We'll rephrase. Most of you guys are like mentors to me. Some of us, we haven't had a chance yet. Respect and love all of you guys, but some of you, a lot of you guys are actually like who I submit my ego to and say, you coach me up. Like Robert, like Jeff, like Kelly, like, Lawrence King, and obviously Larry. So that means a lot to be introduced that way. So thank you for that. And now that you've knocked me completely off my game, I'm going to flip the script a little bit today, if you guys don't mind. I'm here to seek your help. So let me explain a little bit, and we can go into a lot of different areas, but, when there is chaos and when there is confusion, when the dust is in the air, it's a really amazing opportunity to find opportunities or to hone in and emerge as a leader and really take market share. Who can tell me something that's going on in our world that's causing chaos, confusion, and the bombs going off? Nothing. Everything's cool. Oh, good. Okay, good to know.
Politics.
Okay, politics is definitely one of them. What else?
NAR settlement
Yep.
changes
When are the official changes in place?
tomorrow.
So, what I've decided to do is, be it that I think all of us have really done a great job in this group, especially, of understanding what has transpired, focusing on the nuance behind the changes and implementation of our process and how we're going to move forward starting tomorrow. The one thing that I think is really missing out there is the education for the consumer. I see a lot of agents out there doing a lot of social media posts, really downplaying it. And hey, that's fine. That's great. But, I don't think a TikTok is going to help a consumer understand where we're at. And this is where we can really hit the reset button on what buyers and sellers look for in an agent. So I would really encourage all of you guys to do a couple of things. Number one, really focus on how you are uniquely positioned with your skill sets, who you are, how you do things, to be that person for them so that it's no longer even a question, right? They just know you are the only one to support and serve them, so we can really start making change in our production moving forward in a really dramatic way. And then the second is that they know that if nothing else, everyone in their sphere should have a conversation with you before they do anything, because there is chaos, there is confusion. And I think as soon as tomorrow, when buyers call out or reach out to an agent and say, hey, I want to go check out a house, and they're told, time out, we got to sign this buyer broker agreement. We need to agree on compensation. Has anyone had a conversation like that? I know of a few, but who's had a conversation with a buyer so far when they're like, wait, I just want to go in this house. Like, what are you talking about? Can you just open the door? Like, what are you saying? I'm not going to sign some contract. Who's had that conversation yet?
I definitely have had that conversation and it doesn't go well, and I'm like, am I just tactfully not like communicating that? And most of these people, I'm like, hey, I won't even hold your feet to the fire. I will show you this one house. All you have to sign is for this one house. It doesn't even go well that way. I don't know, what I'm saying that's not correct, but it is what it is. And, personally, I prefer to work with people that I already know. So when I say this, it's mostly like the cold calls that are like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, and that's really going to be a skill set we have to develop. I really appreciate you being, forthcoming with us, because it is hard. It's new. Okay. So obviously we're going to have to change consumer behavior. Here's the good news. These folks are going to have to figure out that it's not just you, it's the way things are supposed to be. So this again is where this is causing that confusion, that chaos. And remember, a confused mind is going to do what? Nothing.
Nothing.
That's exactly right. So when they get confused, they're going to say, pump the brakes. I'm not signing anything. And it's not a rejection so much as it is them trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Angela.
Hi, yeah.
Hey there.
In Washington State, we've been having to have buyer brokerage agreement in place since the first of this year. So anyone in Washington State that hasn't been getting those since January 1st, you better get on your game. And I find that, just saying that this is state law requirement for all real estate agents now. And if other real estate agents are showing you without it, they're going to end up paying huge fines and maybe even losing their license over this. Wouldn't you rather have an agent who knows exactly what the rules and the laws are to be on your side, to represent you when the time comes? And hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to do my best to get that commission out of the seller so you don't have to pay it.
Love it. Yeah, and that would be an important thing to mention. Like, hey, if your agent can't even do this according to proper procedures, where else might they not be clear that they're doing things wrong and impact you? So we're seeing this, right? These changes are coming. And hey, I really am appreciative of everyone who in their local market started this before it was required. But that's over now. Tomorrow morning, it's on. Angela, you want to add something else?
Well, I've been using buyer brokerage agreements for 12 years now. And it was a game changer for my business. No more wasting time on looky-loos. No more wasting time on people who didn't value what I had to bring to the table.
Love it. Yeah. So, I think all of us in retrospect now are like, man, we should have started 12 years ago, but here we are, and that's okay. Now, this is what I've done a little different. When I see a void or I see a space that's just, prime picking for us to emerge, I want to dive in. So what I've decided to do, and some of you may or may not have already seen this, but I want to share this with the group, is I have put myself on the hook to start educating the consumer directly. So this is the presentation that I'm putting together for everyone that I know, everyone in my neighborhood, every cousin's, friends, aunts, uncles, buddy, everyone. I'm going to start doing these webinars at minimum once a week, likely for the next 3 to 6 months. And what this is making sure that consumers are clear what the changes are, and most importantly, how it impacts them. So this is the big project that I've been working on, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm literally about 4 slides in. I've got all of the talk track on it, and I really encourage a lot of you to, if you're not going to go and do a full-on webinar, that's fine, but really start to understand your communication around this. So I'd love to hear and this is where we mastermind. This is where we all help each other. And again, you're helping me. I'd love to hear who has a lot of confidence around speaking to their buyers and sellers about some of these changes, what it means, and or how you're going to be the one for them moving forward. Karen, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm here in New York City, and I've been educating my buyers because I feel it's essential. This is something totally new for most people in the consumer. And so what I've done, I've used the articles that have come out of NISAR and out of NAR, and I put it together, and I've been sending it out to my interested buyers so that they're aware, so that we can have dialogue. And like, I usually say to them, this is not about me trying to tell you something. This is what the new rules are. And I find that has made it so much easier. For those who don't want to do a long-term agreement, I just do house to house, and it works, and I have no argument.
I love it. I'd love to hear from some others. If you're going to talk to a buyer or seller tomorrow and they go, I'm hearing about all these changes in real estate. What is this about? How are you engaging that conversation? I'd love to hear, because this will help all of us.
Question, just because it's kind of quiet, like, are you guys keeping up with like Leo and everything that they are talking about this? Because here's the thing, EXP is not just participating, EXP is leading the way on this agenda. Do you know that Zillow and EXP, Leo and the head of Zillow talk every single week? And in Zillow, if you're representing a Zillow buyer, you're going to have two drop downs. You can choose the Zillow buyers form or the EXP form. Like, that is how forward we are. And this was a big risk, because this could have went completely the opposite way. Do you know the MLS where this whole thing stemmed from? And I think it's like Kansas, Missouri, it's like some smaller market is now adopting EXP's forms, along with multiple other MLSs, along with multiple other companies right now. I'm having agents reach out that are listening to Leo and Riz Media and all of these saying, hey, Leo said we could have your forms. Guys, this is a way to get in front of other people, right? Like, I'm sending them our toolkit, right? Like, everybody needs to have this. I'm actually building this into my campaigns. Like, look, I don't know what your brokerage is doing, but here's this, right? And this got a lot of attention. There's one of our competitors, big on social media, right? And stuff like this. And one of their people was like, oh, well, Leo said this. And Leo was like, whoa, I didn't say that, but I'll go on a podcast with you. They went on, and one of our competitors was like, this is great. Everybody should be using this. He was also like, hey, just keep in mind that Leo is recruiting everybody right now, right? Because we're giving people the tools and resources that they need to be relevant in this marketplace. That includes scripts and everything else. I have it here somewhere. And as you guys are talking, I will find the toolkit and I will post it in here momentarily.
Absolutely. And it really has been a lot of what EXP has brought to the table that's pushing all of us to get way more granular about what we're going to do in real time. I still see a ton of agents, real estate gurus. A lot of people are still having this conversation on a 50,000 foot level. And that's just not acceptable anymore. That was 3 or 4 months ago. Tomorrow, we have to know how to communicate and operate in real time.
On this toolkit that I just posted there, that is the seller toolkit. There is a buyer's toolkit. There are the essential forms. There are scripts. There's how to talk about the net. Literally, guys, stay ahead of the curve, because the MLS fines are ridiculous on this. There is no warnings. There's some MLSs, $4,000, $6,000 on your first offense.
There are some
This-
MLSs talking about an auto fee as well, or an auto fine. They will just debit your account.
Like, guys, stay ahead of. There's a lot of agents. This will put them out of business. Do not be an example on this. This is a huge deal right now. Like, I mean, this is sweeping the nation right now. Stay ahead. Don't be scared of this. Use this, right? There's
Bingo.
nothing to be scared about. Like, if you've been using buyer for, like, this should be business as normal, where we're communicating with people, we're setting the expectations and standards. And if you don't want to commit to me, like, cool, go find somebody else. Like, I'm not willing to put my license on the line. And I know how much value I add to you, because my company and my group and my team are the best versed on this particular topic. If you want to take your chance with somebody else, like, you have my blessing, go for it. I'll be here when, if you need me, and walk away.
That is one of the things that I would say, like, being from Colorado, that we've been a forefront on, is we've used these my entire career. So buyer broker agreements are buyer consultations. You sit down and you explain your process and your value and everything, and they understand where you're coming from. So it's kind of hard to see from the other side. Like, I've never shown a house without having an agreement already done. Like, I've always sat down, I've had an hour conversation. We call it a consultation. It's with people that you know, and most of the time it's not like a buyer just picks me out of the blue and is like, hey, can you come show me this house? It's kind of confusing in here, and like on our side, where it's like, this happens in the nation, like people call you up and like, hey, come show me this house, and you don't have a contract with them. So my 2 cents is, have a consultation. It's really easy. Sit down for an hour.
I love it. And so I'm going to say, for anyone who's been operating this way for some time, Heath, Angela, and any others, just know I'm going to reach out to you, because on my Monday Mastermind, 1 week a month, we're going to just do a live role play. It's not come and teach us. It's just, we're going to set you up with a mock buyer, one of our agents, give them a scenario, and have you just do your thing, so we can just be a fly on the wall and watch it in real time. These are the really specific ways that we are coming together as a group here and really pushing forward much faster in a far more powerful way that's going to impact all of our businesses. Now, I want to go back to something. So, Bia, first of all, thank you again for being willing to share. And what I heard you say, which is really key, is that we're likely going to need to start having different processes for different clients, right? And so I've sat with this for a while, and I thought, how am I going to figure out? Valerie, we'll make sure that we drop the Monday Mastermind, if someone wouldn't mind throwing it in there, or just send me an email and I'll make sure that you're invited. But I want to make sure that we figure out how we're going to engage differently with clients. And the way that I boiled it down for myself anyway is based on the relationship.
What are you doing?
What's my relationship with the client? So if I know this client, it's, my aunt or a referral from my cousin, very likely what Heath mentioned is exactly the approach that I'm going to go. I'm going to make sure that the first thing that we do is set up a time to sit down, go through that consultation, right? And everyone should have a buyer consultation. If you don't have one, Larry mentioned 0 to 6 figures. My program, you guys are welcome to jump in and steal my buyer consultation and make it yours. That's what this whole program is about, right? That's one of many things that we have in there for our agents. But make sure that you have a really solid process about having that dialogue with them, all leading to them signing the buyer broker agreement. But what if you don't have a relationship with these folks? This is where, for example, in Southern California, we're really lucky about having this Zillow Flex opportunity and available to us, because even for me, I don't work with many people outside of my sphere of influence. Most of my business is repeat and referral. However, I'm running Zillow Flex leads now. Why? Because I want to go and convert buyers in the most difficult sense that I can. I have no relationship with them. And I don't want to go and blow it doing this once, I don't know, a month maybe with a referral that I get. I'd rather go do it daily right now, so that I know when I do talk to my cousin's referral or my aunt, that I'm really well versed in exactly how I'm going to go through this process with them and get that thing signed. Because that's where I think a lot of agents are going to feel some pain. It's when, what if you do have a referral and they're even confused, right? And they're like, I don't know, this is weird. You know, I hear from everyone else that when you buy a house, you know, just go show me a house. I want everyone really well prepared so we don't miss out on the people who matter most, our sphere of influence. Does that make sense? So you may have to have different approaches. And I don't want to talk 50,000 foot level. I'll give you a very specific example. I know, and this is based off a lot of what Angela mentioned in another one of our calls, but I'm likely going to show up and do two things with a buyer that I'm meeting for the first time. Number one, I'm likely going to have a buyer broker agreement based on the property and maybe a couple of others that I found for them. I'm also going to call those agents in advance and get an idea of if compensation is open for that seller to contribute towards. So that way, when I show up, I can have that dialogue with a buyer in the driveway so that they're not freaked out. Hey, I've already spoken with this agent. This seller mentioned that they're open to compensation in this range or this amount. So that way I can ease that tension. And that buyer broker agreement may be property specific. The other option that I'm really going to start implementing to test is like a week-long buyer broker agreement. Hey, I'm an absolute rock star of a real estate broker, coach. I even teach real estate as a professor. But why don't we work together for 1 week? And in that week, my only ask is you sit down and do a buyer consultation with me so I can demonstrate to you that I'm the right person. And if after a week I'm not, cool. Now you know. But after a week, when we sit down and do all these things together, you're going to see that I'm the right one and we'll sign a new one for 3 months. So make sure that you're prepared and you know how to navigate different approaches. And again, for me, it's based on what is the relationship. That's the way I'm filtering through it. Okay. Any other thoughts that you guys want to share before we keep going?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with working them into this situation because every buyer's a little different. If somebody doesn't know you at all and they just want to see a house, that's all they care about. They want you to open the door for them. So you can work them in with it just being property specific. It can be for 1 day, 5 days, 10 days. Our forms have the option of making them exclusive or non-exclusive. And quite frankly, I would never expect somebody to be bound to work with me if they don't know me at all and they don't know how I can even be of service to them. So that initial meeting with them at a property to show them a house before you even have a consultation, if that's the scenario, that's just an opportunity for you to sell them on your service. And then after you get going with them, you have the opportunity to, explain the value that you can provide, but also inform them that you can't take on 10 or 12 or 15 buyers. You have openings for 2 or 3 at a time. And if they want you to commit to working with them, you're going to need a commitment back from them as well.
It's clear that the folks in Washington have been doing this for a while because you guys clearly have a really well thought through process. Thank you guys for contributing too. And here's the thing. Let's start taking this beyond us and going to our consumer. I truly believe that there's going to be massive turmoil and likely a ton of litigation because of these changes. Why? We just talked about, Jared, you were cool enough to say, I don't expect someone to be locked down with me for the next 3 months. But how many agents are going to explain it? I've heard agents.
Well, it either closed yesterday or it will close this morning. I think they were just waiting on.
I think she's just
numbers.
unmuted. Larry, I don't know if you want to just mute her. There you go. Cool. So I'll give you an example. An agent literally told me this over the phone. If I don't know the buyer, why am I going to educate them? What I'm going to do is have a form filled out for 3%, 3 months, exclusive. And I'm just going to tell them, because we're standing in the driveway, they want to get through the front door. You have to sign this authorizing me to let you through the front door. That's going to be their explanation of the buyer broker agreement. How many agents in the world who are going to hear that and go, that's an excellent idea. That's what I'm doing. And we're going to have some massive issue there. So think about how these changes could impact the consumer because they are not aware. This is what I'm bringing to my buyers and sellers starting tomorrow. Those little issues. I'm going to show you one other. Now, granted, this is state specific, but I want you guys to look at your local market forms and understand where the nuance is so that way you can really start to point to specificity for the buyers and sellers and educate them. So I'm showing you guys, it might take a minute. Let me know when you can see the screen. You guys good? Okay, in California, this is page 1 of our listing agreement. And as you could see right over here on C1, this is compensation to seller's broker. Right below it, on C2, it asks if you check the box, additional compensation to seller's broker if buyer is unrepresented. So if I wanted to, I could check the box, have that conversation with my seller. Hey, if a buyer comes to us, they're not represented, I'm going to help them get the offer into you. What would be that additional compensation for that extra work? And let's say they just said, well, I'll give you another 1% for running the paperwork. Fine. Here's the problem. In our industry, we have not really dealt with unrepresented buyers very often. And what I already see happening, and most agents are going to see this as, is, oh, if I double end, what are you going to pay me on the buy side? And guess what? That is dead wrong. This is asking if a buyer comes and does not want representation from another agent or from you, how are you going to be compensated for working with that buyer? Now, what does it mean to work with a buyer who is not represented? Because what this is saying is that the seller's paying you to continue to only represent the seller. So what does that look like? I'll tell you what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like you working with that buyer and offering them agency. It doesn't look like you advising that buyer on where they should come in, what an earnest money deposit means, how to protect themselves with contingencies. That's offering agency. And you cannot offer agency if you're not representing the buyer because you don't have a buyer broker agreement with them. So this already is where I find a lot of problems are going to come from. Consider this. A buyer comes to you because, most consumers are going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the listing agent, right? That's what they're going to think because they don't know what to do. I want to get through this door. You're telling me I have to sign something. You know what? I see the sign. I'm just going to call the number on the sign and figure this out. But if we don't know how to operate, and I'm talking we as an industry, imagine a listing agent getting a signed call from a buyer who's not represented, and they're thinking, oh, in my listing agreement, I'm going to get another 1, 2, 10,000, whatever that number is for working with an unrepresented buyer. They sit down with them and start working with them. Okay. Do you know what kind of litigation we can be involved in from both sides of the transaction? The buyer too. And here's what I want you guys to know. My daughter has even received a piece of mail like a week and a half ago saying, have you bought or sold real estate in the last 12 months? If so, we have a new class action lawsuit for buyers. There are going to be ambulance chasers. And guess what? Real estate is real easy to track, right? Because it's public information. So we have to understand these forms in a really granular way. And remember, if a buyer gets an attorney in their ear, hey, did you buy a home? Did you have an agent? No, I just went to the listing agent. Oh, really? Did you sign a buyer broker agreement? No. Okay, well, you were unrepresented. Really? Yeah, you didn't know that? No one explained that to you? Oh, man. Did they do one over on you? And if they can get that buyer to start thinking that sideways, and we know it can happen, right? Why do you think we're in this mess? But think about this. Any attorney is not going to go, well, let's just focus on the agent. Leave that poor seller alone. How many attorneys do that? Yeah, exactly 0. They're going to look for your neighbor, the escrow company. They're going to bring everyone into that litigation. And if we're not educating our consumers, they could fall victim to that by just doing what they were supposed to do. It's the agents who are not understanding these things in that really specific way and could cause massive issue. Now, I'm not worried. I'm looking at this, licking my chops, because I'm like, perfect. I've spent my entire career, and I know all of you guys have, really being a true professional in this industry. And we all know that there are a lot of different ways to market yourself, but this is an opportunity to go out there and say, what are my unique skill sets and my unique positioning so that consumers can know that I am the only choice for them. That's why I'm doing, for example, my weekly webinars. So I want you guys to just look for your own contracts and get really, really dialed in on what all of these things mean. If you see something like that, that just like, oh, additional compensation for an unrepresented buyer, don't assume that means anything that you're not sure what it means, because it's not double ending. Okay. It's not representing both buyer and seller. It is not dual agency. And I know some states don't have that anyway, but that is not what that is. And so you have to be clear about what that means. So what do we do if we're not sure what something means in a contract? Go for it, Karen.
So
you're
my
muted.
question, I'm on. So my question is that if our state forms, you just showed something really excellent there with asking the seller if the buyer comes unrepresented and stuff like that. And I'm looking at it here in New York, and I don't think our forms have that.
Mm-hmm.
How do we handle that in that sense?
That's a great question. So I don't know New York real estate law at all, so I'm not the right person, but this is what I want. This is what I want us to know, because I can't help everyone in every state because I'm only clear on California. But what do we do if we're not clear for our own state? What can we do?
Go to your brokers.
Bam, go to your broker in EXP world. I know for California, our state association of realtors has an attorney hotline. I call them all the time. So I'll give you an example. This is something I'm not clear about because it came to, my thinking through this process. Think about this. Have you ever had a buyer, right? You're working with a buyer. You already signed a buyer broker. That's your person. And you go on vacation, or you go away for the weekend, or you go to a ball game, right? Whatever. And of course, as soon as you leave, what happens?
They want to see a home.
The best home in the whole world just came on. It's exactly what they want in the neighborhood they want. And, we can maybe reach out to one of our local agents that we work with a lot and say, hey, can you do me a solid and just get them in this property, right? And you can work out if there's a fee or whatever. That's up to you. I know a lot of us here in Southern California, it's like, hey, I'll do this for you, but when I go on vacation, I might give you a call back, and it's like, cool, we're all good, whatever. Does that agent have to sign something with that buyer?
I've got the answer to this one.
Yeah, for Washington anyway, good.
Well, for across the country, this is the answer across the country. You have to amend your buyer's broker's agreement to include that agent for that showing for that limited time that you are out of town.
Did you guys hear that? You have to have a buyer broker with that agent's name on there, or else they are really not authorized to go and do real estate activity for that client. So these are the things that we need to be really, really aware of. And we just need to, this is the difference between like, oh, what does all this mean? And like, oh, we're going to have to show our value before we work with that's great. That's 50,000 foot level. That was 4 months ago. Tomorrow is go time. We really need to start thinking through our processes and what happens, right? What happens if I'm out of town? What happens if I want to go, watch a Dodger game? I want to go see them beat the crap out of the Angels. Sorry, that was an ode to my wife who's in the next room, probably pissed at me for saying that. But, what do we do in those situations? We have to know what the process is so that we don't make mistakes, okay? I'm going to share something with you guys. Anything anyone wants to add real quick before I keep going?
I'm glad that you brought up.
Is this helpful?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the unrepresented buyer. I've had 2 of them approach me in the last month, and this is something we're going to see more and more of. So I totally agree with you. And I feel I need to get better at handling these people because some of them, you know, can be fairly real estate savvy. And they, the ones that I've spoken to, they see no value in having an agent represent them whatsoever. And they feel that they can get, get a purchase completed with only, seller paying compensation to one broker instead of two. And, depending on your agreement with the seller and how that works out, that might not be the case. It might save them some money, but bottom line is everybody needs to get really up to speed on how to handle this in your state. And I need to get better at it as well because I'm not used to it. Our contracts allow for unrepresented buyers. It's an option on the first page of the contract. So I think that it's going to be something we see a lot more of.
I'm having a conversation with my sellers right now about what that means because I want to A, help them understand it, and B, in my opinion, help them understand the potential additional risk for someone coming to us unrepresented. They may not know what they're doing. They have a due diligence period, but if they haven't really leveraged all of the options for them to be clear about their due diligence, it's not on me to help them understand that. That's what they need representation for. And there have been a couple of my sellers who are really worried that they may not want to work with a buyer who's unrepresented because they're concerned about the extra risk involved in future litigation. Not my call, right? Just like, please don't do this. I know some agents calling and saying, hey, what is your seller offering for compensation? Well, write in the offer. Well, if you don't tell me, I'm not going to show the house. That's a strategy I'm seeing people post on social media about. And I'm like, oh goodness, what are you thinking? Because listen, one of the reasons why it's a pass-through now to the buyer is because it should prevent us from ever doing what? Steering. We should never make a decision about showing or not showing a property based on what we're getting paid. That's steering. Calling an agent and saying, well, if you don't tell me how much they're going to pay, I'm not going to show it, is literally steering. And then posting that on social media. Okay, I want you guys to know this. Did you know that lab coat agents, for example, great community. Did you know there's people in there who are not agents?
And keep in mind that this doesn't get used against you, right? Like you do something like that and steer your client, that could be a career change for you. Like that is the shit that we're talking about. Again, don't be scared of this. Know this.
Right.
Talk with your broker. Talk to our group, right? Like we have some of the most experienced agents, I will put this up, in the country on this call, right? And not just because they're old like Robert Weichelt, but because they've done a lot of business, right? Like, so let's be clear, right? It's not just an age thing, it's the experience. It's that, I mean, there's probably 5 that I see on this front page that have sold over 1,000 homes, right? Don't listen to these like, this is where we trust, but we verify. We give options, they make choices, and then we document the hell out of it to CYA. If you're not sure if you're documented enough, you go to your state broker, right? Because we have an entire legal team that's backing them and pushing this forward, right? This should not be scary. To me, this is exciting as hell because other groups and companies don't have this. This is where we capture market share, like when shit gets real.
So, couple of things that I would really recommend just for our own readiness. Number 1, your local forms, okay? Whether you're going to use the association's forms or EXPs, your decision. EXP is okay with you using whatever you want. But whatever you're going to use, I recommend that you print it, you have it right next to you, and you read it right now, 1 time minimum every single day. And think about when you're reading it, how things play out in your life and in your business. And I'm sure something happened yesterday that's having you read this differently. This is where you start writing down questions, getting with your broker, getting with your, state attorneys for, the realtor board, whatever. But start asking those questions. That's the number 1 way for us to get clear, is to read this over and over and over and over again. And remember, when a buyer is standing in the driveway and they're like, I just want to get in this house, you start talking to them about this and they ask a question. If you can't even answer that question, that's probably not going to get signed. So the best we can do right now, as far as like being prepared, is just simply print and read once a day for now. And I tell people this all the time, even like the RPA, our purchase agreements and our listing agreements, I still try to read them at minimum once a month. Okay. We use them all the time, but man, sometimes buried in some of those paragraphs, we have to remember or be reminded how things can be altered based on what the contract says. So think about those things. And do you guys, anything else you guys want to share? Because if you guys don't mind, I'm going to show you the first few slides of my presentation, because this is where I'm going to ask for some help. Is that cool? Okay, cool.
Joseph,
Yes.
there's a question in the chat.
Oh,
Might want to look at.
can a seller require a potential buyer to be represented by an agent? I'm sorry, I'm a newbie, just trying to understand. No, Scott, that's a great question. My answer to that, and I'm sorry it's going to be nuanced like this. My recommendation, because I have no idea where you're located, I would get with your state broker and potentially even the attorneys for your state board to ask that question and understand the yes and no of it, and what else could be a solution in either facet. Okay. So that's going to be my answer.
Got it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to show you guys this.
Joseph,
Yeah.
hey, Joseph, this is Eric. I have a question. So
Hey
these
there.
new rules, they also affect open houses too, right? Because you have to
Oh man.
have, yeah.
So yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
This is a whole thing. Okay. In California, because I can only speak to California, when someone walks into an open house, there's going to be two options. Option one is, I can represent you on this property because you don't have an agent. Okay. Option two is, you're walking into this open house and you are going to be unrepresented. I'm here for the benefit of my seller, and anything that you talk to me about, I can use against you in negotiation because I have no fiduciary duty to you and I don't have to keep anything confidential. That's the new world that we operate in. Okay. All right. Let me show you guys this.
And then
really
the new forms that have to be, I guess, signed by people that come through for open houses also. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Good questions. And then we can get that. We can get on that, Erica, specifically to California. Okay. So here's my thought process around working with my buyers and sellers. The first thing I'm going to do is talk to them about the fact that everything's changing. Okay. And I'm doing this tomorrow morning for the first time. And I'm going to talk to you guys about how I found myself here. All right. So I think it's important for buyers and sellers to talk about real estate as we know it now so they can understand what changed. So my thought is to walk through what happens when they sell their home. Okay. And I'm going to give some examples so they can understand who gets paid and how. All right. Now I'm going to explain the concept of cooperating broker compensation. I'm also going to go to what happens when you buy a home in terms of real estate as we know it, right? They work with me. We find them a home. They don't have to, traditionally compensate me, because typically what would happen, and this is all going to be how things normally are, so we have to be really clear in our conversation. But if this agent had signed a listing agreement, traditionally, there would be some portion that would be paid to the buyer's agent, which would really allow the buyer to not have to be overly concerned about a financial burden up front, especially when it comes to cash on hand. Okay, so that's going to be how I'm going to start this conversation. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the number one marketing tactic that sellers have been using for decades. Do you guys know what that is? What's the number one strategy that's been working for sellers for decades? What has it been?
Increase the listing side commission or increase the buyer side commission.
Agent compensation. Valerie, you're absolutely spot on. And why has that been so instrumental? Because what it does is it signals to the real estate community that if they rally behind selling this property, they can be compensated. And there's no argument, there's no kicking and screaming, there's no additional negotiation to be had. It's already set. and they can go out there confidently and try to secure a buyer to help sell that property. And what I want my clients to understand is that has been taken away from them. They can't market that anymore. Okay, so I'm going to really try and focus on how, because I think a lot of consumers, I see people posting on Facebook, like you have to get a signed thing, and consumers are coming after agents posting about this, like, how dare you, you scumbags. That's why I hate your industry. And I want to make sure people are clear, like, no, don't come at me like that. That's what you wanted. You better check yourself when you come to me with that approach, because guess what? This is what you asked for, not me. Okay. I am also going to share with my clients that next thing I'm going to do is obviously go through Sitzer Burnett. I'm going to help them understand what the settlement looks like. And I'm also going to throw a caveat in there, or a little statement in there, that I find it interesting that all of these sellers who, came to this class action lawsuit, I find it interesting that they didn't sue when they bought that house, because they sure didn't have a problem when they bought the home, that it's most likely that the seller then paid their agent to represent them. So it was fine that your agent who represented you got paid, likely from cooperating broker compensation. But now when it's your turn, you're pissed. And we always have to make sure that buyers and sellers are clear. It was always negotiable. Not only did they not have to pay a buyer broker, they didn't even have to list their home. It's called for sale by owner. Knock yourself out. But why did they do it so consistently in our market? Because it was their number one strategy for selling their home as fast as possible and for the most net proceeds as possible. So I won't bore you guys with the rest. I have to finish my freaking PowerPoint today because I'm on the hook, and I want to end with this. Here's what I did. Okay. I went into, I just, when I was on vacation with a little bit of clarity, I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach out to my people specifically and be really clear on exactly what these changes are. I'm going to be that thought leader in my marketplace, because with all of your help, people that I get to mastermind with every single week, I am really clear. Do I have holes? I think all of us will. Okay. Because to be frank, at least here in California, we haven't been doing this consistently enough to know all the nuance, to know where some of the other challenges are going to be. But I think we've thought through enough. But sometimes you just have to jump in. So what I did is I went onto Canva, I created my marketing piece, and I posted it. I burned the boats. It scared the crap out of me. But I'm like, hey, that's what it is. The other thing that I did is I made a conscious decision. Like, I should be cold calling every day because Robert Weichelt, my coach, is like, Joe, you need to cold call every day and kick some ass. But I made a business decision that I was going to clear my calendar for 2 days because I know how I operate. And for me to really get into that creative mind, I need time. So for the rest of today, this is the only meeting that I have, and I'm out. If you guys try to call me today, don't ever feel like you can't, but I may not be as responsive as normal because I'm in it. The pressure cooker's on. I've cleared my calendar. It's creativity time. And I suck at PowerPoint, so I'm figuring it out, but we'll get there. But the point is, I burned the boats. So guess what? If I need to show up and just do this tomorrow, I'm ready. I'm ready. If I can have some visuals to help them better understand, great. But if not, I'm showing up and I'm doing my thing. And just like anything else that we do, it's not about the moment, okay? Don't let your sales career be a moment. Sales should be a process, not a moment. So if I do it tomorrow and I suck, I'm going to do it the next week. And then I'm going to do it the next week after that. And I'm going to do it again and again and again until my delivery is the best, period, full stop. And if we just show up like that for everything that we do in our lives and our careers, then it's going to be okay. And we don't have to have so much pressure around it. We don't have to strangle it with anxiety, because you know what? I've just started cold calling in my career because my awesome coach, Robert Weichelt, told me that's what I need to do. And I have very good creative avoidance. It scares the crap out of me. When I hear him do it and I hear me do it, the energy is different. So I'm really honing in on these things. But guess what? I can't learn from him very well unless I'm doing it. The one constant that we need is the doing. Okay. I'm a huge personal development fan, like huge. I used to work for a personal development company. Someone taught me something that I thought was amazing. And it was to change results, you need to look at your intention, your state, and your actions. And when even Olympic athletes really focus in on what is the X factor for them, it tends to be their state and their intentions above their actions. But where people blow it is they don't understand the actions are extremely consistent. You don't drop doing the actions because when you think about intention, state, and action equals your results, it's a multiplication problem. So you stop doing the work, now it's all times zero. So I just wanted to end with that as far as like, hey, I'm putting myself out there, scared the crap out of me, but my process was twofold. Burn the boats, create the space, and I'm just going to show up and do it. So I hope some of this was helpful. I have like I told Larry, I'm not showing up with much of an agenda, brother. We're going to see where this goes. So was that helpful? And is there anything I can help you guys with before we're done?
Dude, that was smoking hot. I think what you're doing is you're leading by example, number one, like you do every day. But you've created a scenario where you're diving in, you're burning those boats, you're diving in, and everybody needs to do the same thing. These are consultations with sellers, consultations with buyers. That's what these are. And it's our job to get out in front of it, contact our database before somebody else does. And worst case, they may want to buy, sell, or invest. Hallelujah. Let's do that. Joseph, congratulations. I'd love to be on that call. I would love to be a fly on that wall, brother.
Hey, I'll tell you what, all of you guys are always welcome. Okay. But just know I'm giving everyone this caveat, like, please R&D that crap. Okay. Like you come on and you steal any and all of it you want. I don't care. We are one team, one dream, baby. But I want you guys to know I will be selling me. Okay. So I say that because, I don't want anyone to be like, what the heck? This was supposed to be an agent training. No, this is for my consumers and I'm selling me. So as long as you guys are clear about that, by all means, come on. I want feedback. I want to be better. So if you guys would like to come on and join, you're more than welcome to.
Man, I think you absolutely crushed this, Mr. Lima. Thank you so much for your time today. All of the research and stuff that you've done to this, right? Like, I see some people that were right on board. I see some people with some glazed looks on their face, like, oh shit, what am I getting into? Like, guys, it's all okay, right? Like, this will be okay. This is not the first change we've had in our industry. It will not be the last, right? Like, this is where we tighten our skills. We do a better job. We add more value, right? Like, know that you're doing the right thing every single day, right? Put better processes, put better procedures, and educate people. Add more value to others, right? I'm coming up with a campaign right now for social media, just sharing EXP's tools and resources to every other agent in the country. That's it. I didn't come up with any of this, right? I'm going to have sold 2 homes this year. I'm a producing agent, damn it, right? Like,
He's a
and so
qualifier.
like I've sold 2 homes here, like never seen them or anything else, but I've sold them, right? But this is a big shift. This is going to put a lot of people out of the business. And that's sad to me because this should open up a ton of opportunities. This is the first time in our history you can negotiate your goddamn commission. That is huge, right? I'm going on, 18 years now, right? I could have never stopped, like, put that in, like, negotiated my commission, right? If they were like, hey, seller's offering 1% and my clients wanted to see it, I had no recourse. Damn it, right? I guess I'll make it up on the next one. I could never stop a closing, hold up a closing because of my commission. This is a game changer and one of the best things I feel could have happened to us so you can negotiate for yourself. Increase your skills. Double and triple down on this. Look at where the market's going. Double and triple down on that. Create action item, create a plan with 2 or 3 action items and fucking follow that every single day. I can't be more clear, guys, right? It's about that action. Now is the time to take action, right? Don't stick your head in the sand. Like this is, pull it up, right? If you need any of us, like be like, like call us, text us, email us, like let's get through this and come out of this cycle with more business, more stock, more equity, helping more people than we've ever done in our career. This is an exciting time. So I love you guys to death. Joseph Lemos, thank you so much. Absolutely crushed it, my friend. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great day, guys.
Love you guys. Appreciate you, Larry. See you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Brian Flatley, you missed the entire call, my brother. Brian, can you hear me? Brian Flatley, can you hear me? He's old. Technology is kind of new to him. It's okay. All right, I'll have to give him a call here. Brian Flatley, can you hear me? Check 1, check 2.